The Galion TS A20 power amp is one of the best value Class A power amplifier on the market. Costs $3,750. Are you serious? Is that good value? Yes, value depends on a lot of things. Now, if you open up any amplifier that costs that much, check out the capacitors inside. $5, $10, whoa, $30. The capacitors in the new Galion TS A20 cost nearly $500. Yes, not $5, not $50, $500. Now, these are custom-made Jupiter copper foil paper and wax capacitors. These will put snake oil capacitors to shame. These are dragon oil capacitors. Now, another reason why this amplifier has incredible value is because it is made in Canada. Do you know how expensive it is to make anything in Canada besides maple syrup? The packaging box is made 30 minutes away from my home, and it cost me 13 times more than my Galion TS A75 packaging box. Well, that one is made in China. So when I told Sean from Zero Fidelity, who has real life experience in the industry, about the cost of this amp, he said, okay, let me quote it. If you were to sell the Class A amp using the traditional globalized business model, which means picking up distributors and dealers, all of whom need to make a good profit to operate their business, then this amp would likely cost anywhere from $12,000 to $14,000, depending on the margins. And through most consumer direct business model, it would likely be in the $6,000 range. What is the Galion TS A20? It is a 20-watt Class A power amp designed and built in Canada. Now, TS A20, TS stands for Thompson Stereo, A stands for amplifier, right? Power amp, not integrated amp, and 20 stands for 20 watt. This Class A amp is built in a facility 30 minutes away from where I live. Well, about 20 minutes away from Montreal in Quebec. It is so expensive to make things locally. The last time I checked my cost, I was looking at the bill. I cried, man, when I see like $50 an hour labor for parts, like for assembly. The price I am selling makes no sense from a business point of view. The TS A20 is a passion project, and I want to support the local economy, so I've been trying to get some stuff made here in North America. Now, for example, my new TS Voyager MK2 Special Edition Speakers crossover is made here in Canada and assembled into the speaker in the USA. So I have sourced 100% of the components inside the TS A20 from North America. Now, I cannot get everything from Canada because some parts do not exist in Canada. For instance, I wanted to use Jupiter capacitors, and those are only made in the USA. I tried to get the power switch, like the front power switch, from Asia, but my designer insisted on ordering from a local vendor. The binding posts at the back are not your fake AliExpress CMC binding posts. These are genuine, expensive CMC binding posts from Taiwan. So for some parts, look, I have no choice. You know, I have to order them from China. For example, the feet, the power cable, and well, you get the point. So the TS A20 used all top quality components, and from a business point of view, was just not realistic. Passion project, right? So the TS A20 is a current feedback design, unlike most amplifiers on the market, which are voltage feedback design. So don't let the 20 watt power rating fool you, okay? When people hear 20 watt, they have this idea that the cell phone has more power than that. My budget $150 Class D amp has 10 times more power than that. Nothing can be further from the truth. At the Montreal Audio Show recently, like a few months ago, I played a game called Guess the Power. So after playing a song with a lot of boom, boom bass, I had people guessing how many watts. Not a single person got it right. Some would say, I think it's about 150 watts, 200, 300. Did you expect 20 watt to have that kind of bass?
No, not at all. Not at all. 20 watt is. But Class A, you with a little bit of watts, you always expect a little more, but not that much. Not that much.
Okay. Yeah. So I had people guessing in the room how many watts after after playing it, and everybody was guessing how many watts.
These people said there may be 100 and 150, but only 20 watts. Nobody knows it.
One attendee even said there are watts and they're fab watts. See, fab is short for Fabien Tremblay, and he's the designer of this amp. Now, he lives 30 minutes away from my home, or maybe 20. So let me tell you a story about how this project came to life. So one day, I went to a subscriber of mine, Dominique. Now, with my audio buddy, Mr. Kanta, we wanted to check out his system. So what is unique about Dominique's system is that he built it all by himself. He's been building amplifiers all his life. And so what he does, he gets design from designers, and then he built them with insane quality parts. Okay, so 5 minutes into listening to his DIY system, Mr. Kanta and I agreed, man, this system just destroyed all our systems. You see, we don't have this ego. Oh, my system is the best. Everyone else is garbage. We're not like that. We know when we are outclassed. So I asked Dominique, hey, who designed these components? And it turns out that the preamp designer lived, well, 15 minutes away from my home. Wow, a genius designer just next to my house. Wouldn't it be nice to ask him to design something for me? So he has been designing for 20 to 30 years as a hobby. And it was also his dream to bring his amplifier to market. And as you know in life, right, when the stars are aligned, things happen. So I took a few of his preamps, power amps home, like some Class AB amps, preamps, DACs, and I decided to start with a Class A amp because Class A amps are rare these days, right? Everything is either Class AB or Class D now. If you look under the hood of the TS A20, it looks very simple, right? Nothing fancy. Dominique, who has been building amps for 20 to 30 years, told me, man, Thomas, the simpler it is, the harder it is to design. You don't have to rely on compensation to fix problems. It means you have to get the design right from the start. And he has been building Fab's design for like a long time, and he told me, man, they're rock solid. Fab knows this amp so well that I could voice it with him. So what does it mean to voice it with him? After all, I know nothing about amplifier design. So this is how it works. So I would bring the amp home, listen, and then I tell him, hey Fab, well, short for Fabien, I like the decay to be a bit more extended. So he would modify either the power supply or the main board to reflect the changes. Fab, we need more bass. Okay, he might increase the power supply to give me more bass. Between us, we have developed this special audiophile language. For example, I was asking him if he could increase the speed of the amplifier. I like to have a bit more attack. Well, guys, speed makes no sense in an amplifier, right? It's not like it's traveling at 100 miles per hour. So, after 2 years and over 100 trips, maybe even 200 trips to his home, I got the overall sound to where I like it to be. Then I would spend the rest of the time, like almost half a year, tweaking the capacitors. That is why I have a gazillion capacitors at my home. I will put one in at a time and listen. Now, after millions of years, well, at least it felt like that, I finally settled on the Jupiter copper foil and wax capacitor. Now, between you and me, okay, the truth is you replace that $200 Jupiter capacitor with a $30 Silverline white capacitor, the difference is not night and day. Yes, the Jupiter capacitor will make the vocal sound more natural, well, because it's copper foil, but the $30 Silverline capacitors are good enough. So I try all kind of capacitors, Mundov, Jensen, Silverline, Clarity, and so forth. The A20 was a passion project, right? So the only thing I care about was the sound, and I did not care about the price. Sadly, by maybe 10%, the best sounding capacitor happens to be the most expensive capacitor. So after choosing the Jupiter capacitor, I have to have one custom made for me. So why do I need to have it custom made? Why not just buy stock, right? So the lower mid-range sounded too lean with the stock 2.2 UF Jupiter capacitor. Now this is normal because Class A amps are supposed to be lean. Now if I put a 3.3 UF capacitor, the overall presentation would no longer be lean, but the bass would be slightly sluggish. So 2.2 UF too lean, 3.3 UF not lean but not perfect. I need something in between. A 2.7 would be ideal. So I called Jupiter, hey, can you custom build me a 2.7 UF? They say, sure. If you order like this much minimum orders, like, you know, my desire for that perfect sound made me say, yeah, okay, just take my arm and leg and build me those capacitors. So not only did they build me a 2.7 UF, but they also built me different versions. Some are smoother, some are sharper, brighter. So I went with the capacitor that has the maximum clarity. So I was ready to place my order, right? And then Jupiter asked me, okay, so what material you want the leads to be? I'm like, huh? Does it make a difference? Yeah. If you use silver lead, for example, it might be brighter. If you use other leads, like that metal cable there, metal, whatever you call that, it might be, you know what. So guess what I did? You know what? Just build me the samples with all the leads you have. You do realize each sample, like each pair, each capacitor is 200 bucks, huh? So you can imagine the R&D cost. Passion project. You might think, Thomas, okay, so you're gonna stop there, right? $200 capacitors. What else do you want more? Nope. Then I added this Jupiter Vitamin Q capacitor in the signal chain. See, this capacitor adds lushness to the voice. Now you might think, all right, Thomas, now you gotta be happy, right? Nope. I added a vintage tone Jupiter capacitor into the signal chain. And that yellow capacitor expanded the soundstage to the point where I could hear the room. So that's why I cannot say no. Passion project. So after 2 years and over, I don't know, 200 trips, yeah, to the designer's home, what is the end result? A highly resolving amplifier. Whenever I change to another amp, even if it's $4,000, I have to get used to it, especially Class D, because I don't get the same level of resolution and body as this Class A amp in the mid-range. I always have said Class A is lean sounding. It might have body, but differs from Class AB because the upper bass does not have as much meat on the bone. So that's why Class A is lean sounding by nature. Now, please do not confuse it with thin sounding because a Class A amp has body in the mid-range. So the upside is the mid-range voice is fantastic when you don't have that extra coloration in the upper bass. See, I don't like lean sounding amp, so that's why I had Jupiter custom built me that 2.7 UF capacitor. The 2.7 UF capacitor gives me enough meat on the bone and enough fullness in the upper bass that it does not sound like a typical lean sounding Class A amp. It's probably one of the most full sounding Class A amp on the market. But make no mistake, this is not a fat sounding amp. So Class A, there are many ways you can voice it. You can make it smooth, buttery smooth and rolled off on the top, right? I think that is what I read about the Musical Fidelity A1, right? That Class A amp everybody's talking about. That one leans on the smooth rolled off side. Or you can go with a Class A that is hyper resolving, like the TS A20. See, the designer Fabien wanted an amplifier without tilting up the treble to have so much resolution that you don't have to search for details in the music. It should just come to you effortlessly. If someone drops a pin in the recording studio, no problem. You'll hear it with zero effort. This amp is hyper transparent. Heck man, with the amount of expensive caps I put in, yeah. Sparkling treble like no tomorrow. The bass is not only dynamic, but it is nuanced and well controlled. So you might think, Thomas, man, 20 watt and a damping factor of 60? Will you even get good control bass? Do you know why people guess this is a 200 watt amp at the Montreal Auto Show? If you look at the stereophile's coverage of our room, he mentioned explosive dynamics and effortless sonic propulsion. I will link the article in the first comment. So by the way, I asked my designer, hey man, why didn't you make an amplifier with 6,000 damping factor? I also asked a few other designers, and man, they all roll their eyes. It's like, do you even know what damping factor is? Does this amp control the woofer any worse than your 6,000 damping factor amp? Okay, finally, dynamic contrast is a crucial characteristic of high-end amplifier. Okay, with budget amplifier, or what happens is that the dynamic contrast is mediocre. That's why it can sound a bit flat and dull. The TS A20 has good dynamic contrast. Okay, so the TS A20 only has RCA input and it's a dual mono design. So I wanted 2 power plugs, so it's like a mono block, but the designer vetoed it, man. Now, dual mono with 2 power supplies and 2 Dorado transformer is as common as giant killer's DAC from Asia today. It's nothing special, right? This amplifier has more than 400,000 capacitance. Do you know how expensive it is to get 8 50,000 capacitors? 400,000 capacitance. Just to give you an idea, okay? Most amps on the market have only 40,000 capacitance, which is 10 times less. This 20 watt amp will generate a level 8 earthquake with its base. However, it is not the ability to create an earthquake that is important. So let me tell you a story. So I brought this amp to Jay Iyagi's home. He's he's a YouTuber, to get his opinion. So he listened to it and he was impressed. And then I switched to the Galion TS 75. You see, despite the TS A75 having half the capacitance, 200,000, it actually has stronger bass. So it can generate a level 9 earthquake. Jay's first reaction was, holy cow, man, this is even more impressive. However, after one song, he said, Thomas, okay, I get it. The TS A20 has more information across the board. Top, middle, bottom. It is a more balanced amplifier and more refined. Oof, I hope so. It is more than double the price. So what about the soundstage? So Fab has been designing amplifiers for 20 to 30 years, and he changed to current feedback design instead of voltage feedback design because current feedback design excels at soundstage. For him, the most important is soundstage. So with this amp, you will get that airy soundstage that can rival tubes. That is the point of current feedback design. So finally, let's talk about the voice. Now, after all, that is the whole point of Class A, the mid-range. So there are many ways to build a system with a lot of emotions. For instance, you can go for the smooth, heart-melting way. You can use tube to give you that tube warmth to get the emotions. And another way is to go the transparent way, where you can hear the vibration in the singer's breath brought on by his sadness and happiness. So the TS A20 goes in that full transparent direction. So just like every amplifier, there must be some negatives. I think I'm the only person who would talk about the negatives of his own product. It's a habit of reviewing gear. So I always list out the positive and negatives. None of my videos are only about the positives. So first, it is 20 watt. Yes, it is powerful and can shake your room, but if you have like a big room, like 700 square feet, and have difficult speakers to drive, and you listen at extreme volume, yeah, then this might not be for you, right? Ideally, you don't want to drive like a Magnepan, not a 84 dB speaker. You know what? The Quad 2905 strangely works fine. Finally, the pairing of the preamp is critical. You see, the preamp heavily influences the perceived speed. If you like a slower, smoother, more relaxing presentation, pair it with a Macintosh or a smooth sounding tube preamp. If you want a faster, more dynamic sound, pair it with a fast preamp. See, I usually have it plugged in directly into my DAC, and it's a much more exciting presentation. the TS A20 is a power amp that can swing between relaxed and exciting. It changes so drastically depending on your source. It will. You might think, okay, well, it's normal for an amp to change its behavior with a different preamp or a different DAC. Not at all, man. Right now, I'm reviewing an integrated amp, and that amp is more on the polite side. And no matter what I do, no matter what I match it with, it will always stay on the relax and chill side. See, at the Montreal Audio Show, I had the TS A20 connected to the Eversolo A8. And one of the comments I got from subscriber was that the amp sounded really fast.
You're the bass master with your amps. It's crazy. It's punchy, control, fast.
So everybody will be asking, hey Thomas, where's the matching preamp? Yeah, I'm working with Doge on a tube preamp, but the real matching preamp will come from the same designer. That one, yeah, maybe later this year or next year. Now, some of you may be saying, come on, Thomas, you make this amp sound like the best thing since sliced bread. Guys, have you not seen me soaking this thing in snake oil? I mean, quality components, right? Even if you don't like the Class A sound, it is still good value. The designer has designed this amp to be so reliable that it is supposed to outlive us. We purposely made a very big chassis to ensure maximum heat dissipation. So you cannot use it as a winter heater. You're not able to cook an egg on it. And I have stocked up critical spare parts on the side just to ensure we can still service it 30 years from now, even if the parts are discontinued. No one would ever end up using it as a door stopper. Now that of course adds to the cost of this amp. As I said, passion project, passion project. So for each amplifier, the designer has to spend 3 hours fine-tuning it to ensure everything is perfect. He then burns it in for 10 hours to ensure the amp has no problem. Can you imagine the labor cost to do all that in Canada? He also matched the BJT transistors in the TS A20 to ensure optimal performance. I had to over-order parts so we could match them. Of course, all this does not matter if the amp does not sound good. So I'm glad it does, and at this point, let's wrap it up. Suppose you're looking for an amp that has that Class A linearity, but with extra body, a highly resolving mid-range that allows you to hear all the emotions in the music, effortless top-end detail, transparent, non-exaggerated, nuanced, powerful bass, and a soundstage that can rival tube amps. Yeah, in this case, the TS A20 is something to consider. Just make sure your speaker is not crazy hard to drive. After 2 years of hard work, it is finally ready. It is probably the only time in audio history that you can buy a Canadian amp with so many expensive components at this price. Man, I should have put a Quebec flag on it. All right, guys, till next time.
I never